One of the most bizarre and disturbing cases of mass murder is that committed by John George Hay, a respectable, well-dressed, middle-class man with an abundance of charm and good looks, but who in the late 1940s disposed of at least 6 victims in a manner that prompted him being described as a vampire. Hay's motivations for his crimes, which involved luring his prey to a fate where their blood was consumed before being dissolved in acid, have never been clearly corroborated. His claim to have been disturbed in his childhood by his strict religious parents, leading to a psychotic state of mind obsessed with religious iconography and sacrificial fantasies, has also been disputed. Critics believe that instead of insanity fueling Hay's vampire-like activities, he was in fact a cold-hearted killer who arrogantly believed that where there was no body, there was no crime to pin on him. John George Hay was born on the 24th of July 1909 in Stanford, Lincolnshire. The family later moved to Outwood, West Yorkshire, where Hay spent the next 24 years of his life. He was brought up in a fanatically religious household where references to the Lord were used frequently to remind young George that he was always being observed by a higher and disapproving deity. Hay himself claimed that his childhood was bleak and lonely. His only friends were his few pets and caring for the neighbor's dog. A tall fence around the house put up by his father kept out prying eyes or any social contact with the outside world. Hay's parents belonged to a religious sect known as the Plymouth Brethren, who were purist and anti-clerical. Bible stories were the only form of entertainment. Even participating in sports of any kind was strictly forbidden. According to Hay Sr., the world was evil, and the family needed to keep themselves separate from it. His father had also told him that the blue blemish on his own head had been the result of him sinning in his youth. So it's not surprising that the young George became obsessed and terrified of developing a similar sign of the devil, due to the slightest misdemeanor. He was told that his mother had no mark as she was an angel. It is said that a turning point in the boy's developing psyche came when Hay realized that no such blemish would appear despite having lied or committing some other questionable behavior. He then started to believe that he was invincible and could get away with anything. Claims of being afflicted by dreams of gothic nightmarish proportions where trees would turn into crucifixes weeping blood have to be viewed with caution. Hay was later known to be a manipulative and compulsive liar, prone to saying anything to extricate himself from a compromising position. At the time of his arrest for murder, his personal inquiries into what may befall him if he was found to be insane is an indication that Hay was aware that appearing crazy and damaged by his childhood would possibly work in his favor when it came to the trial. In 1934, Hay stopped attending his parents' church and married Beatrice Hammer, a 21-year-old woman he barely knew. Despite having been impressed by Hay's manners and charm, she was uncertain about his character but still went ahead with the marriage on the 6th of July 1934. Hay's parents permitted the couple to live with them, but the marriage lasted only about 4 months, ending when Hay was arrested in October 1934 and sent to prison for fraud. While he was incarcerated, Beatrice gave birth to a baby daughter whom she gave up for adoption. Hay saw her only once more briefly and lied by telling her that they were never officially wed because he already had a wife at the time. Despite his abilities, Hay spent a considerable amount of time in prison for mainly fraudulent practices that involved various illegal enterprises. During a brief period, he worked at an amusement park run by a Mr. William MacDonald McSwan and his parents Donald McSwan and his wife Amy. The family liked Hay, promoted him in the business, and were very sorry to see him leave when he envisaged greener pastures elsewhere. His next project, involving setting up a false solicitor's office, earned him 4 years in prison. It was while he was incarcerated that he thought up a new scheme to become rich quickly. Instead of toiling for a living, his plan was to simply go after rich older women. Hay also convinced himself that if there was no corpse, then there could be no conviction. Such a belief no doubt prompted him into working with sulfuric acid in the prison's tin shop, where he experimented on mice and made studies of the effects of acid on animal tissue. After Hay was released from prison, he took steps to carry out his heinous scheme. In the interim, he stayed with the Stephen family, where he began a close friendship with one of the daughters, Barbara, who, despite the 20-year age gap, believed that she could become the next Mrs. Hay. In 1944, Hay was involved in a car accident where he suffered a wound to the head, which bled into his mouth. He later referred to this event as having been the catalyst that reawakened his blood-filled nightmares. Shortly afterwards, he rented a basement space at 79 Gloucester Road, where he set up his workshop, a grim death trap to lure unsuspecting victims. At a public house in Kensington, Hay chanced upon former employer Mac McSwan again. Mac was happy to see him and took Hay to see his parents. During the friendly reunion, they told Hay of their recent investments in property. This information was to seal their fates. After socializing with Mac for several weeks, Hay carried out his vile plan on the 9th of September 1944. In Hay's diary, he claimed that he had a sudden need for blood, so he hit McSwan over the head with a blunt instrument. Then he slit his throat. He stated, "I got a mug and I took some blood from his neck in the mug and drank it." Hay later found a 40-gallon barrel in which to put McSwan's body and then filled it with the sulfuric acid. He described in his confession how, when the body was finally submerged in liquid acid, the fumes overwhelmed him and he had to go outside. Later, he covered the drum and went home to sleep, leaving his former employer and friend to dissolve into a liquid sludge. It was during the night that he supposedly suffered from more surreal and blood-filled nightmares. The next day, the remains of McSwan were little more than a cold, foul-smelling liquid in lumps, which Hay disposed of down a drain. Knowing that he had killed someone and removed all traces of them gave Hay a feeling of euphoria. Hay managed to convince McSwan's parents that their son had gone away to avoid conscription. He even sent fake postcards to them from Scotland pretending to be their son. Now Hay set his sights on acquiring the rest of the McSwan family assets. The next murder would be committed with the addition of new equipment to deal with dissolving bodies. A stirrup pump, do-it-yourself tin face masks, and even a bathtub made of steel, painted to make it more resistant to corrosion. These were the tools of the trade used by Hay in his obscene workshop of death. According to a police statement, before Hay carried out his plan to cruelly dispose of the remainder of the McSwan family, he also murdered a middle-aged woman from Hammersmith. The McSwans disappeared on the 2nd of July 1945. They were killed in a similar manner to their son. Hay hit them first, killing them, and then claimed to have drunk their blood, before dissolving them in the acid tub. After informing the McSwans' landlady that the couple had gone to America, Hay had all of their mail forwarded to him, including Mr. McSwan's pension. He then set about forging their son's signature on a power of attorney form. By forging a deed on a property owned by Mrs. McSwan and appropriating it into a false name, Hay managed to make nearly £2,000 from selling the property. That, along with security and sales of possessions, totaled £6,000. For a while, Hay managed to swindle people through a variety of scams, including posing as a liaison officer dealing with patents and setting up fake branches in several towns. It was also around this time that he later claimed in a police confession that he had killed and disposed of a young man called Max from Kensington. Hay's spoils from the McSwans were running out fast, and the evil psychopath needed money fast, so he scoped out new victims. This time he chose a more worldly couple, Dr. Archibald Henderson, 52, and his wife Rose, 41, who were selling their home. Cultivating a relationship with the couple based on a shared passion for music, Hay encouraged them to reveal information about their properties. Renting a storehouse on Leopold Road in Crawley, London, Hay moved his possessions from Gloucester Street and began setting up his deadly workshop once again. Business was expanding, so this time he ordered 3 carboys of sulfuric acid and 2 40-gallon drums without tops. On the 12th of February 1946, he drove Dr. Henderson to Crawley and shot him in the head with Henderson's own revolver, which he had stolen from the Archibald's house earlier. He then left the body in a storeroom and set off to get Mrs. Henderson. After some reluctance, she was driven to the storehouse. Hay shot her from behind, and after trussing up both their bodies, left them overnight, planning to carry out the disposal the next day. Hay later claimed to the police that he had drank blood from the both of them. He dissolved both bodies in acid, but this time the grisly act did not erase all traces, as Mr. Henderson's foot was left intact. This did not seem to bother Hay all that much, as he dumped all the remains including the foot in the corner of the yard. The psychopath by now felt immune to being captured. Efforts to maintain the impression that the Hendersons were still alive were methodical and time-consuming. Hay even forged letters by Rose Henderson, writing a lengthy letter to her brother. After selling their properties and possessions, he acquired around £8,000 in total. Showing a sickening contempt for his victims, he even gave his girlfriend Barbara some of Mrs. Henderson's clothes to wear. Unexpectedly, Rose Henderson's brother Berlin was preparing to go to the police. Hay managed to convince him that the couple had emigrated to South Africa on the grounds that Dr. Henderson had carried out an illegal abortion. As an indication of Hay's depravity and sociopathic tendencies, he even planned on visiting the mother of a recently deceased school friend whom he had spotted in the obituaries section of a local newspaper. No doubt Hay had intentions to dispose of the grieving mother and misappropriate any possessions he could. His plan was foiled when the frail woman unexpectedly died herself. Hay's money once again started to run out, mainly due to gambling and expensive tastes, which included staying at an upmarket hotel. While there, he had socialized with a wealthy elderly woman, Mrs. Olive Durand Deacon, and the curling snakes of his mind once again set in motion a murderous plan to dispose of her. In June 1948, Hay claimed that his car was stolen, and a little while later the Lagonda was found smashed at the foot of a cliff. Less than a month later, an unidentified body was found nearby. However, the police decided that the two incidents were unrelated. Hay denied having anything to do with the body even after his arrest. Hay had told his girlfriend Barbara that he wanted to collect the car insurance and even took her to the spot where the Lagonda had been written off. It was then that she began to become suspicious of her soon-to-be husband. In the meantime, he had already murdered Mrs. Durand Deacon. Despite this, his money was running out again and he needed to pay off loans. Although he tried to invite other people out to his Crawley den of death, no one took him up on his offer. Also, Rose Henderson's brother was once again causing problems for Hay by insisting that the police locate his sister due to a death in the family. Hay realized that he would have to silence him too. Before Hay could carry out his callous intentions to erase Berlin Henderson from the face of the earth, he was arrested. His first comment to the reception officer when he arrived at Lewes prison was, "This is the result of doing 6 people, but not for personal gain." Hay then confessed to everything. Although the acid had destroyed a great deal of evidence, not everything had been eliminated. Ghoulish relics such as small bones, dentures, Mr. Henderson's foot and a gallbladder were all discovered. The forensic team had to sift through tons of nauseating sludge. Technicians had to wear rubber gloves and cover their arms in Vaseline to protect themselves from the acid. They found the following items: 28 pounds of human body fat, 3 faceted gallstones, part of a left foot not quite eroded, 18 fragments of human bone, upper and lower dentures intact, the handle of a red plastic bag, and a lipstick container. Despite the forensic evidence, it was Hay's very own sense of invincibility and arrogance that was to be his greatest undoing. Hay was of the opinion that nothing could be found from his human slaughterhouse and confidently recounted in great detail his escapades of death. As far as he was concerned, it was a case of corpus delicti. No bodies, no crime, no punishment. On the 18th of July 1949, 4,000 people crowded into the small town of Lewis, hoping to get a seat in the court. Mr. Justice Humphreys presided. Hay pleaded not guilty. The prosecution rested its case of deliberate premeditated murder for gain. Hay's defense counsel tried to rely on the issue of the defendant's insanity, describing for the court how his mental illness would have affected his ability to appreciate the morality of his acts. It was clear that Hay was aware that what he was doing was wrong in the eyes of the law, as evidenced by his attempt to cover up his crimes. With that admission, the defense collapsed. There was only one issue to be decided, the question of the prisoner's sanity. The defense's psychiatrist failed to prove that Hay's judgment was impaired. Also, because Hay had initially inquired about getting released from Broadmoor, it appeared as if he was thinking of using insanity to get him off the hook. The prosecution declared that Hay was simply a man who believed he had discovered the perfect crime, committing murder for gain and then pretending he was insane when he got caught. The jury were left to decide whether paranoia could be considered a mental disease or defect. It took them only 15 minutes to come to a conclusion. Hay was found guilty. The judge asked Hay if he had anything to say for himself. Hay cocked his head and said, "Nothing at all." Donning a black cap, the judge sentenced him to be hung until dead. Hay finished his life story for the newspaper that had paid for his trial. He also wrote letters to Barbara Stevens and to his parents who did not see him before he died. His mother had sent a final communication through a reporter. Hay also told Barbara that he believed in reincarnation and that he would be back to complete his mission. Madame Tussauds requested a fitting for a death mask, and Hay was more than happy to oblige. On the 6th of August 1949, Hay was hanged at Wandsworth Prison. Madame Tussauds erected a wax figure of him, complete with his very own clothes that he had bequeathed to the institution. Well, my dear friends, what did you think of Mr. Hay? Or Haig, whatever your preference is of pronunciation. My goodness, what an audible little man he was, wasn't he? You know, he had the charming facade, but there was something about the eyes. They were very sort of cold and snake-like. Perhaps it's in hindsight that I say that, but no, I don't think so. If you look at some of the photos of him, the eyes betray the friendly exterior, indeed. Well, it's another case of monsters lurking the earth in pretty packaging. Yeah, I read an account of somebody who owned a hotel that Hay had allegedly booked a dinner appointment with Dr. Henderson, turned up, and the hotel owner had said the hotel had been shut for many months. There's no way he could have made a booking. To which Hay replied, "I did indeed," and pulled out his diary, and Dr. Henderson turned to him and said, "You're mad, Hay. I always thought you were." So just obviously some crazy stuff going on in his head. He made things up in his mind. There's no way he could have booked a dinner appointment at that hotel. So why he even went through with that charade, who knows? Very bizarre. And apparently that hotel owner was the last person to see Dr. Henderson alive, but he described John George Hay, very charming, debonair, with film star looks, who asked to use his telephone, paid him a good tip for doing so. He goes, "You never would have suspected him." Just makes you wonder, how can a person go to bed at night after having shot or bludgeoned somebody over the head and left them bubbling in acid overnight? What sort of thoughts would you have before going to sleep? It's just mind-boggling, my viewers. You notice I'm using my live stream image here. I thought it was so cool. I like that. So I thought I'd use it. At this stage, I haven't actually done the live stream, but by the time you're watching this video, it's already been and gone, but I haven't actually done it. So I hope it's a success, and if it is, we'll do some more at different times, so people in different parts of the world can join in. Let's hope it goes well, and that I don't have a coughing fit or a laughing fit or forget to plug the microphone in. No, I'm sure the gods will be on my side. Yes, I just noticed on Friday afternoon that my Camille Claudel video on YouTube had been demonetized by YouTube pending a review. The video had, in the previous week, taken off with views well over 300,000. It was really getting up there. I don't know whether it's an automatic thing with YouTube, whether they just do that if it's starting to get too many views, or whether somebody has flagged the video numerous times. Not really sure. Hopefully the review will reveal that there's nothing graphically horrendous about the video, unless I forgot to cover up a tiny bit of nipple or something. I don't know. It's just crazy. I really thought that video was tame, and that's the sort of thing I could put on YouTube. So we will await their decision. I don't know. If it wasn't for you guys at Patreon, I think I would give up. It's like fighting a losing battle. And as you notice, my Patreon videos are longer and detailed. They're a lot of work, but my focus is on providing quality content for you guys here at Patreon. That is my priority, which is why there's not many that uploaded on YouTube. I want to make sure that at least every month I get a good quality video out there for you. So I thank you again, as I always thank you, for your support of my work, and let's hope it continues. It's really great getting a good amount now. Starting to feel very confident about this. So yeah, heartfelt thanks, and here's to many more cases in the future. Looking forward to it. Hope you are as well. Well, I'm going to wrap this up now. Get this video on the final edit and get it saved. And wishing you all the best. Take care, my friends. Until the next time, God bless. Bye-bye.